Welcome to SUSD Spotlight, your go-to source for all things happening within the district. Whether it's celebrating student and staff achievements, delving into trending education topics, or highlighting inspiring human interest stories, we've got you covered. Join us as we illuminate the incredible endeavors taking place in our schools and forge connections within our community. Get ready to be informed, inspired, and engaged as we embark on this journey together, spotlighting the extraordinary in SUSD. Welcome to another edition of SUSD Spotlight. Today we are really excited to talk about kindergarten enrollment with Dr. Christine Bonow, our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education. Welcome, Christine.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Now, it might seem strange to be talking about kindergarten enrollment at the very end of fall break and the end of the first quarter, but it's not too early, is it?
It's not early at all, actually. We get phone calls literally the second day of school from parents, prospective parents for next year saying, when can I register for kindergarten? When can my child come see the school?
So tell us a little bit more about kindergarten enrollment, what's involved, what parents need to know as they're doing their shopping for what's the best fit for their child.
Absolutely. And as they're looking at their options and finding out all the really cool and unique programs we have in SUSD, we're so grateful that we do start that process now. So, for example, the schools have each scheduled 3 different roundups, making sure that there's always an opportunity for an evening event, a daytime event. What those roundups include, it's a really larger tour, if you will. They'll still get to see the school. They will still get to see classrooms, meet the teachers, but they'll really hear specifically how is that school going to meet the needs of their kindergarten child as they start their career in SUSD as kindergartners.
And when do these events start?
Most of them will start at the end of October or the very beginning of November. And most schools will have their first one, like I said, end of October, early November, then again in February, and then again in April. For many of our families who are looking for that open enrollment that starts November 1st, that'll be when many of the schools start hosting their events so families can see the schools, make those decisions, and then register quickly. We do have many families who are participating in tours, in school tours, even prior to the actual roundups. So in my experience as a principal, we would have families come on a tour and then come back for a roundup. And you might see, even in my experience as a director, you might see families on 2, 3, 4, 5 tours as they visit the same school more than once or visit all the schools within all of our learning communities.
When we think about kindergarten too, we think about how much it has changed really over the years. Kindergarten looks a lot different, and additionally the opportunities available to our littles. They're still little when they come to kindergarten, but we've got some pretty unique program offerings already available to those kinders.
Absolutely. As a former kindergarten teacher in our district, kindergarten now is really what first and even second grade was 15, 20, 25 years ago. Our kids come in. This is not a half-day program where they're taking a nap. This is a full-day, robust, rigorous program that not only is socially and emotionally meeting the needs of kids and developmentally appropriate, but really getting them ready for that first grade. So back in the olden days when I was a teacher, if my kids left reading, I was like a hero. But now that's the expectation. By February, they're writing a short 3-sentence paragraph. But again, they still get to have that hands-on, play-based, experiential experience for all of our programs. But what's really cool about SUSD is you can really find a program that meets your needs. We have at Laguna, which is one of our STEAM schools, along with Navajo. We have our dual language programs. At Desert Canyon is Mandarin. Pueblo Elementary is our Spanish immersion. We also have our primary years program through the International Baccalaureate program at Anasazi. But all of our schools offer something really unique for our families, especially in kindergarten. And our administrators do such a lovely job at really meeting the needs of not only the kids, but the parents. For some of our parents, this is their first child going to school. This is the first time they've been away from home, and shepherding them through that process is almost a little more challenging than getting the kids ready, making sure that the parents can trust us, that they've entrusted us with their most prized thing they have in their life is their child, and building those relationships with the staff, with the administrators, and with the teachers is really something special.
Because while kindergarten is a lot nowadays, the kids are ready and capable, aren't they?
Oh, they're so ready. Our kids come to us. We have some kids who might have been in a child care setting or a daycare setting, since they were maybe 6 weeks or 2 months old, and they come to us raring to go with a whole bunch of skills. We have some kids who, again, this is their first time being away from mom and dad, and they have some really cool skills. And And the kindergarten teachers, and I'm a little biased, have a really a really great ability to meet the kids where they are, regardless of what their background is and what foundational skills they come in with.
So is there an age requirement? At what age do students enroll as kindergarten?
Great question. In Arizona, students have to turn 5 by August 31st. So if your child turns 5 before August 31st, no problem, you can go ahead and enroll. If you're opening enrolling, meaning you live outside of the boundary of the school you want to attend, that starts November 1st. And if you're regular enrolling, December 1st, you can start the ball rolling on that registration process on our website. We outline all the steps. It's very easy and streamlined now with technology. But if your child turns 5 between September 1st and December 31st, you can opt to participate in our early entrance kindergarten testing. And that's a testing that's done one-on-one with a teacher and the child that goes over some foundational skills and looks at how ready the child is to start kindergarten a little ahead of schedule.
And Christine, we have gifted services for the kinders as well.
Absolutely. So at 3 of our schools, at Redfield, Kiva, and Tavon, we have comprehensive gifted, which we call CGP. And that's a program that is quintessentially kind of a self-contained gifted program with students who qualify at that high of level at 97% by their gifted testing, can be in a class with their same grade level peers, and same with students who have been identified gifted. However, if your child is not qualified for the comprehensive gifted program, all of our schools have cluster classes with teachers who have gifted experience and with their same grade level peer, their same intellectually similar peers, to be able to make sure we're showing a year's growth in a year's time, regardless of where they come in the first day of kinder.
So if I'm mom and I'm at home right now with my 4-year-old listening to this, what are your tips for me to maybe start getting my 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old, ready to be successful in SUSD kindergarten?
Absolutely. It's never too early to start planning. So as you're getting ready for your little one to start kindergarten, there's a couple really big things you can start doing. The most important thing is start talking to them about it, helping them envision what it's going to look like when they go to school. However, along with that, I caution families to not say, oh gosh, mommy's going to miss you when you leave. That's a natural thing, of course. We do miss our kids when they're not with us, but we don't want to instill any feelings of nervousness or worry with the child. So you're going to have so much fun when you're in kindergarten. You're going to see your new friends. And I always recommend drive by the school. Our schools, especially in Scottsdale, we have an array of opportunities and school events that our communities put together, whether it's a PTO event, if they do movie night, or they have a fall festival or a spring fling. You can see those events, find out about those events on our district calendar. And I always recommend parents, bring your little ones, even if you don't have kids in the school, bring them to these events. You get the best information from our schools, from our best customers, our families and our kids, seeing in action. I also recommend reading to your child. That goes without saying, and there's so much research that's out there that shows that kids who are read to at home can go into kindergarten with as much as 1.3 million words more than a child who perhaps is not being read to regularly. And there are so many books out there about characters who are also getting ready to go to school, so kids can see themselves. And if they get ownership with getting their backpack and buying their, getting their lunchbox ready and picking out their clothes. Along with that, another thing I always recommend parents to do is to instill that level of independence. One thing I can almost put money on that every kindergarten teacher is going to say is, please practice. How do I button my pants by myself? How do I open my lunchbox by myself? As a mom myself of grown adults, I sometimes want to jump and do those things for them even now, but you have to start letting them, because when, let's say at lunchtime, they only have 35 minutes, you don't want them to spend the bulk of that time trying to open that Ziploc bag. So working on those fine motor skills, those gross motor skills, we have seen over the past 10 or 15 years that our kids come to us with really low muscle tone in their hands and not as strong of fine motor skills as perhaps they had in the past. With now the introduction of a lot more of technology being so much more pervasive, our kids are really good at clicking with their fingers and pointing on a tablet, but they don't color as much anymore. They don't draw as much. So I always tell parents, get some Play-Doh at home. Let them build those muscles in their hands. Give them big crayons and markers, because when the first week of school, when they're learning how to write their names on papers, they do come home and they say, gosh, their hands really hurt from all that hard work.
I remember Kaylee coming home from pre-K. She was in Senora Contreras' class, and she said they were using scissors, the little, child-safe scissors. And she's like, my hands hurt. They're sore. And I guess we hadn't done enough cutting at home.
And that's the thing, too, also. That's a good point. A lot of our parents don't know what kindergarten is. They haven't been in kindergarten for some 20 years, and if not more, myself, many, many decades ago. So letting them see firsthand, like, no, it's okay that they use scissors. And also getting that opportunity to be with their peers on the playground, at play dates, letting them work out conflict. If they're at the park and someone takes their toy, we want to support them, but we don't need to jump in and rescue them. How are we going to help them navigate that? Also, all of our principals always invite families to come on tours and sit into the classroom 15, 20 minutes to see firsthand all the things their child's going to learn as we follow not only our state standards, but use our district adopted materials, and also as they start building those long-lasting friendships that'll last all of their years through SUSD.
So how would parents find out when the kindergarten roundup is, and how do they even know where they live and which school they would normally go to? And given we're a school of choice state, they can opt to enroll in other schools provided that there's space. So how do they navigate that?
Absolutely.
System?
So two things. If you go on susd.org and in the search in the upper right-hand corner, if you search Roundup, you will see a comprehensive list of all the schools and their Roundup dates. But again, if one of those dates and times don't meet the needs of you or your families, please contact the school and schedule a tour. Our principals in our schools do a masterful job of offering tours, even if it's just one family. That's one family we want to make sure we reach out to. In order to find your school, if you go to susd.org/enrollment, you can search for what the nearest school to your house. We call that your home school. Or you can also see a comprehensive map of all the schools in our area to get a sense of programming, of how close it is to your house. Many of our schools do offer our Kids Club program, which offer before and after school care. The schools that don't perhaps work with the city of Scottsdale. Lots of unique questions that parents might have for their needs that even exist outside the school day.
That's a good point. Enrichment classes, are those available to our kinders as well, or
Yes.
does that start older?
Nope. So our enrichment programs run through our community education department, and we offer programs such as Lego building, dance, robotics, tennis, golf, and that starts as early as kindergarten.
Cool. Lots of opportunities.
So many opportunities that help the kids build those foundational skills academically inside the classroom, but also socially outside the classroom.
So starting at kindergarten is pretty important. We have many compelling options for our parents to choose from. We want to invite them to participate in one of these Roundup events and sign up as quickly as they can. Thank you so much, Dr. Bonow, for sharing this important information for our families. At the end of every podcast, we like to ask our guests to share a memory about a teacher who made a positive difference in your life. And I know that you are a legacy. You graduated from Chaparral, and you've also gone through our system from kindergarten. Is there somebody along the way that you would like to give a shout out to today?
Oh gosh, how much time do we have? There were so many teachers. I went to Kokopah K-8. I went to then Chaparral High School. There were so many teachers who took the time to get to know you personally. As one of 7 kids, many of my siblings had the same teacher, so you didn't know on the first day of school which sibling they were going to refer to when they said, "Oh, you're so-and-so's sister." That was always, it was a toss of the coin, if you will, of how that was going to turn out. But really, there were so many adults, whether they were teachers. The story I love to tell was I walked to school. We lived right up the street from Kokopah, and there was a crosswalk guard. His name was Dal. And of course, when I was 5 and 6 years old, he probably seemed like he was 100. I bet he was probably not even 45 years old. But it was one of the highlights of my day was to see Mr. Overstreet at the crosswalk every morning. And if you weren't there, the next day he'd say, "Where were you? I missed you." And when he wasn't there, we missed him. And I remember him being there for years. So the way our day started out was seeing him at the crosswalk every single day. What a great way to show that, I didn't see him during the school day. I saw him for 5 minutes every single morning and afternoon. But what an impact that has on me some 40 plus years later.
It's a good reminder that everyone has an important role to play in ensuring that our students have the best possible experience when they're here at Scottsdale Unified School District. We want to thank our listeners for tuning in to our podcast and encourage you to share information with your friends, families, and neighbors about where they can get more information about the exciting things happening in SUSD.
And hopefully everyone enjoyed this episode of SUSD Spotlight and will pitch us ideas for future episodes on our website, susd.org/spotlight.